Hi, my name is Sam Apata, Sam Apata in short, and this is me sharing my story from childhood to the current stage of my life. And if you have watched the intro video, you would see the summary of some of the things that I intend to talk about. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. If you're yet to, please do subscribe. I'm going to be sharing my story from childhood and up until the current stage of my life, and I've cited some of the reasons why I am doing that in the intro video. If you have not watched it, please do so. I was born on the 27th of June 1981 in Lagos Island. Not only that I was born in Lagos Island, I am a Lagosian. Growing up in Ajose Courts, which is adjacent to Obweko Street, not far from Idumota. Growing up there in Lagos Island was a fond memory with my mom and dad and my paternal grandmother. May the Lord bless her soul. And I'm going to share some of the things that I learned from her and the impact that she made in my life. But having been born in Lagos Island, we moved to Agege, which is my grandmother's house. She has a bungalow there in Agege, and my mom and my dad, we moved in. I am from a polygamous family. My dad has 2 wives, and if there is anything, I wouldn't recommend polygamous marriage. I wouldn't recommend polygamous marriage for any reason. We stayed in Agege in a room, and then my younger sister arrived. I have 8 siblings. We are a family of 12. My younger sister arrived, my younger brother also arrived. Then my father took a second wife, and a lot of things changed in that dynamics. But before I go into all of that, I attended a crèche not too far from our house on the same street, Olaiwola Street, Agege. I think the name of the crèche was, can't remember the name, but I think the teacher's name is Elizabeth something. I think we call her Auntie Elizabeth. You know, if we attended the same crèche at in Olaiwola Street, Agege, please remind me the name of the teacher that taught us in the early 80s. From the crèche then, you know, to Ability Nursery and Primary School. And it was a fun memory having to learn all the rhymes and songs and all of those. I mean, I can't even remember any of them. But, you know, ultimately, it was a very fun memory. From Ability Nursery School to Ifeoluwa Primary School. Ifeoluwa Primary School is on Shebiotimo Street, Idimongoro, Agege. I was a good student, a brilliant student, in fact, because I remember, you know, they would award us at the end of the session or term. And, you know, I would be one of the prize winners. My childhood friend there in primary school, his name is Nuruddin Ajayi. Great guy, great guy. Many things happened, you know. I did a bit of athletics, you know, soccer, you know, a little bit of running. One significant memory amongst many was when the Free Mandela campaigners came to our primary school and for donation, in order to in solidarity with South Africa and the Free Mandela campaign. And this was in the 80s. The song we sang that particular day, because it was a day event, the song we sang at that particular day was "Hey, Free Mandela." Don't ask me to sing to save my life, but that's the part of the song that I remember very clearly. And I donated my lunch money to the Free Mandela campaign, and as God would have it, I now live as a Nigerian in the free South Africa, free from apartheid regime, so it's a democratic South Africa. And I'll go into more details of my life as I go into my story. I then graduated from primary school, then moved to secondary school. My secondary school was St. Joseph Secondary School. It's on number 1 Sule Street in the Mango Ragege. I was an average student in secondary school as opposed to my primary, that I was, an high flyer. I guess a lot of things contributed to that, but yeah, I was an average student, here and there, academically average, and also not wanting to be known, but I was okay. JS1, JS2. I was never repeat a class. My 6th year was 6th year. Got into secondary school 1993 and graduated 1999. So the 6 years was 6 years. Like one of the current presidential candidates in Nigeria said that 4 years will be 4 years. 6 years was 6 years for me in during my secondary school days. Like I said, so it's just normal. There were a few crazy things, but ultimately I graduated. One fun memory was one of the chemistry tests. I topped the class and everybody was wowed, but I put in the work. I remember I put in the work and it paid off. So young people, put in the work. Hard work pays, it doesn't kill. Let me talk a little bit about my home, growing up at home. First off, I shout out to my dad. Great man, absolutely awesome man, handsome also. He taught us well, great family values. You can't mess around my dad. And talk about not messing around my dad, he beat me a lot. Dad, I love you, but the beating were just too much because they had negative impacts on my life. I became very shy, extremely shy actually. Even if I know what to say, I would not want to say it because, I was just that shy. But he trained us well. Some of the great qualities about him is that he's a very great father, very committed to his wives. Like I said earlier, he has 2 wives. Committed to his wives, committed to his family, and very generous human being. Sometimes he can overdo it to the extent that even what he doesn't have, especially when it comes to money, he could go and borrow to do good for or to whoever. But again, that's one of the attributes or things that I took from him. And that also was from his mother, which is my grandmother. I learned generosity from her also. Let me dwell on my dad more and some of the things that I learned from him that are helping me today. Discipline, highly disciplined man, highly principled man, very aggressive. My dad can be very aggressive, and he's tall, so that also kind of make him look intimidating sometimes, even though he's not in his natural state. And I mean natural state because you get provoked and you react and all of that. My dad is very handy also, fixing bulb, electrical stuff, concrete, plastering, painting. I mean, I was the one painting our home growing up, when I was of age, 10, 12, thereabouts. I was the one painting the entire room. So all of these attributes I learned from him. One thing I remember about him is that whenever he goes to work, he would always come back with something, to eat or to snack, and mostly fruits. One of his favorites is carrots. He would always come home with carrots, and I learned that from him also. And shout out to him, shout out to them, my parents, because they make sure that we never go to bed hungry, even though we're not that rich or wealthy, if you like. We're not poor. We've never been poor, like in the real sense of it. But we're average. We're average. I learned how to cook from him also because he learned how to cook from his mother, my grandmother. And my grandmother also made a lot of impact in my cooking ability, which I am enjoying today because, in fact, because of the new developments in our family, my family, I have been the one cooking, for the past 1 year now. I mean, my dad would wash our uniform, he would bath us, he would sweep the compound, he would cook, like I mentioned earlier, so most of these things that people term woman's responsibility in a marriage or in a family, I saw my dad doing all of those things. And that then helped me also to be able to easily do those things. I've been the one doing the laundry in my home since forever. Cooking, like I said, comes easy. I've been doing it. I don't mind washing dishes and things like that. So these are some of the things that really help the man that I've become today. Of course, been married to one wife, and I will never advise or recommend polygamy, or polygamous marriage. I will never ever. Moving to my mom now, beautiful lady. This skin tone that you can see on me, I took, I inherited it from her, and absolutely beautiful woman. So she did a bit. I mean, one thing that I remember correctly was that she had a grinding machine. is for commercial purposes, you know. And when I was of age, I was the one that was in charge of, you know, assisting customers to be able to grind their vegetable, you know, like, you know, onions, tomatoes, pepper, and so on, you know. We usually reject garlic because it leaves smell in the compartment, and obviously when you do another customer's vegetable or vegetable mix, you know, it then leave that same smell with the customer, and obviously they wouldn't want that. So we mostly reject things that will leave some scent residue in the grinding machine. And she also has a small, we call it ate. In South Africa, you can equate it to a spaza shop where we would sell bread, you know, agege bread. I sold agege bread. My mom has a small store, and she sells pepper, gari, rice, you know, the groceries, you know, bread and all of those things. And again, I was the one in charge. So these are some of the things that contribute to my entrepreneurial upbringing. My dad works at Ministry of Work, excuse the pun, and you know, he then has a record sales business also. And I'm highlighting some of these things to buttress the person that I have become today, being a business person or an entrepreneur. My stepmom also, you know, very beautiful lady. I guess, you know, my father has eyes for beautiful ladies, I guess. However, understandably so, when she came into the picture, the environment became tensed because obviously there was jealousy, there was, you know, strife, yeah, all manner of unpleasant energy, you know, was in the house. So we lived in a face me and face you. I don't know how to explain that. You can search face me and face you bungalow in Nigeria. You can search that on Google and probably, you know, or ask ChatGPT, you know, what is face me and face you bungalow building in Nigeria, and you know, maybe it would have one or two things to tell you about that. But yeah, we lived in that, and my mom has a room. Then next to the room is my stepmom's room, so you can see the close proximity. So that led to a lot of strife and jealousy and all manner of unpleasant energy, like I mentioned earlier. There's always fight, there's always shouting, there's always, you know, argument and all of that, and disagreement. And the truth is that had impact also on my upbringing, because, you know, I mean, as a child, you would want to live in a more peaceful environment, but that wasn't the case, you know, for many other reasons, but, you know, particularly zooming into having lived in a polygamous family, and it's an Islamic home also. I was brought up in an Islamic home. My grandmother was an Alaja, you know, chieftain, Halaja also, by the way. My grandmother was a merchant, vegetable merchant, like pepper, onions, tomatoes, and things like that. She has a store at the Ep1 market. She was one of the big players there, or wholesaler if you like. She was rich. If there's anything, she was rich. My grandmother was rich. For someone to be able to build 2 houses in the 80s, very generous, a great cook. I learned how to cook some nice delicacies from her, over and above the ones that I learned from my dad and my mom. She taught me how not to be wasteful, especially when it comes to food items, And when my grandmother cooks, the entire house, would feel it because of the aroma, and even the color of the soup, God bless her soul. Generosity, I learned from her too. Very generous, highly disciplined, very loving, very, very loving. My grandmother was very loving. She took care of us. In fact, when my parents would beat me, she would be the one shouting at them to stop beating me and to let me be. So I grew up knowing my grandmother taking care of our grandchildren. And I come from a big family, So every now and then, family members would come and drop their children with my grandmother, and she wouldn't complain, and like I said, she was okay financially, even apart from the rent that she would collect from our properties. Being a merchant at Ep1 market, she has, I believe, a few stores or stalls that she was collecting rent also. So money always flowing, my grandmother was never stranded financially, and she enjoyed life. At the later stage of her life, when she was now very frail, my dad and myself, I remember very clearly, would be the one that would assist her to go to the bathroom. I remember, many times bathing my grandmother, helping her, to and also assist her because she was weak now, and she would lay her hand on my shoulders, and I would assist her from her room to the bathroom. Because of the house structure, it was a communal bathroom, but she has one dedicated to herself and the family. So the rest of the tenants, has their own bathroom, and we, as the owner of the house, we would use the one dedicated for us, which is ours. And so applies to the toilet, So I would bath her and help her to dress up, rub cream on her and all of that. So that was humbling. Remembering that now that I did that from my grandmother, very humbling. Very humbling. I'm so grateful to God that I was able to make such impact in her life at a very old age. My grandmother, I can't remember the age that she passed on, but she was over 100 when she passed on. And I will be the one sweeping the entire compound, the house, you know. And, you know, they raised me well when it comes to discipline and making sure that I was responsible. You know, they raised me well in that manner. So God bless her soul. God bless her soul. Oh, I remember also, I think my very first phone, she contributed to it. You know, she's contributed to it. I remember. I think she was supposed to give me the full amount, but I can't remember what happened, but she contributed to my first phone that I bought. Yeah. And she passed on 2003 or 4. 2003 or 4. 2003 or 4. God bless her soul. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope to see you in the next one. Please like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Sam Apata. On Twitter, the Sam Apata. And Sam Apata in all the other platforms. Once again, thank you so much, and God bless you. See you in the next episode.